You can start us.
Okay. Good afternoon, colleagues.
They can hear us. Please signify if you can hear us.
Hello, good afternoon, colleagues and presenters.
Sir, you have to come to the front too.
Yeah, I can hear you. And can you hear me too?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. So we are all welcome to today's.
But you're speaking from far. The person that is anchoring, I can't hear you. It's too far. The audio to you is too far.
Okay.
So maybe you should sit in front, directly in front of the camera. So.
All right. Let me adjust. Okay. What about now?
It's a bit better, but I could hear the lady very well then. Even a whisper, sir, I could hear a whisper. They're asking you to sit close.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, better. It's better then.
Okay. Good afternoon, colleagues, and good afternoon, presenters. So this is the panel on Yoruba music and musicians. We have 4 presenters. The first presenter is Dr. Gani. She's going to be presenting on Not So Saint, an African feminist critique of the objectification of women in Saint Janet's Yoruba songs. So all presenters have 15 minutes for their presentation. So after that, then I don't know if we should take all the presentations before the question and answer.
Any you like.
Okay. So now we listen to Dr. Daniel presents our paper.
You can sit, or if you want to speak to your paper, you can also stand in front of it.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My paper is on the title of the paper is Not So Saint David, an African feminist
You allow her to sit some mic so
of
that we can hear.
Yoruba songs. This paper offers a critical feminist analysis of the objectification of women in the multiple works of Yoruba singer Saint Janet. Using an African feminist lens, the study interrogates how Saint Janet's lyrics, known for their explicit content and widespread popularity, perpetuate under the guise of sexual liberation. While a music might appear as a subversive abstraction of female sexual agency, so that examination reveals a troubling reinforcement of the commodification of the female body. This study draws on sexual analysis and feminist theory to examine selectively, placing them within broader conversations on gender, sexuality, conversation on gender, sexuality, and power in African popular culture. Right. Okay, so born as Omotoyosi Ajilore, she's an indigenous of Ogun State, who started as a gospel singer in the choir of Cherubim and Seraphim Church, and then she moved into gospel music as a backup singer, and afterwards started singing the Juju and Fuji style songs, but majorly on erotic and sensual issues. and she has been criticized severally, but she argues that her songs actually is a form of empowerment for women, and that she is actually, very proud of her children. Now, if we look at the and if you listen to a lot of her songs, she is very explicit on the female body, on what men do to the female body, on women's reaction and men's reaction to this sexual acts, and sometimes of thinking about assaults, sexual assault on women as if they are very fine and that they are very okay. The study is grounded on African feminism. And so the main argument in the study is to examine how fix women, our women's bodies are limited in our songs, and on also about the sexuality. However, as songs actually challenge this patriarchy and this provide women empowerment in any way, or whether she's simply reinforcing and entrenching patriarchy and the objectification and sexualization of women's bodies. The study is grounded on African feminism, and we have feminists like Ogunde Leslie, Jamaica, Amadi, and the thing about African feminism is that unlike Western feminism, African feminist paradigms emphasize attention to communal, spiritual, and sociocultural realities of African women, and it's actually based on ensuring that women are able to achieve their potentials without being subjugated by African traditions that are inimical to women's justice, but at the same time entrenching African culture that are sublime and do not affect the rights of women negatively in any way. We did a text analysis of Centena's songs and the content analysis of public discourse about our song and our craft. And we find that in several of the songs, women bodies were explicitly described. What's meant to go those bodies are explicitly described. Men's assaults of women are explicitly described and presented as though they are completely fine. And everything is actually just about how men can derive pleasure from women's bodies, and they are not in any way providing any form of empowerment whatsoever. So it's actually basically reinforcing male stereotypes from a feminist voice. Now, analysis of the songs also show that the essence and there's really nothing new, and that by the time you compare text analysis of Centena's songs to the lyrics of other songs by male artists, there's actually a higher, women actually more objectified in Centena's songs than in male songs that are also in a similar genre. And we find that the female empowerment that is published in the media discourse that Centena brings to sexuality and songs are actually performative empowerment and not any empowerment that really encourages women's progress in any way. And we find that the having a woman enforcing having a woman entrenching the objectification of women is actually more dangerous than having men do the same thing, because it's going to further affect, reduce, or impact the progress, whatever progress that feminists have actually made in ensuring that women are not objectified, in highlighting all forms of assault, including overt assaults that society may try to portray as harmless. So having a woman who entrench this is actually more dangerous than when we have men entrench these norms. Also, we find the prototypical nature of the Nigerian society, where we are moralists when we talk, when we perform in public, but in private, even though the Nigerian Census Board has banned St. songs. Tapes have been sold. People are able to listen online. She performs as concerts, including Christian concerts, and that she has also traveled outside the country to perform. And you find that the individuals who publicly condemn our craft are also the women, are also the people who attend the shows and patronize our craft. And so it also shows the cultural economy of shame and sensation in Nigeria, where we publicly shame, but that we privately consume and patronize. And the most serious consequence of our song is actually the danger of false empowerment, thinking that having a woman talk about domesticate women's body is actually something that is actually a form of feminist empowerment in any way. Now, also, our heart is also dangerous to find studies have also found secondary school students who are below 18 actually having a lot of access to our songs, and some trying to, and this definitely impacts their perception about sex and sexuality and feminist bodies, and how this can actually affect and impact the way they treat women and the way women behave and the words that women can also attach to themselves. Thank you.
Round of applause for Dr. Daniel. Let's take one more presentation then. Answer my question before we now take the last two. So the next presenter is Dr. Samuel A. Adedibe. Echoes of Yorubaness, the soundtracks of Anikulapo as cultural narratives. Dr. Adedibe.
I sent a request. I sent a request to share my screen.
You've been allowed, sir.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
15 minutes.
So, okay. Well, I can't share with sound.
You can, sir.
I'm trying to share with sound, but it's not allowing me to share with sound.
You want to share what?
Samuel Adedibe is a panelist. He wants to share with sound. He can.
He wants to share his sound.
With sound.
That's up to you.
You're allowed to share, sir.
You just have
Share with
to.
sound.
There are two options when you want to share.
It's not showing the option of sharing with sound. But
When you want to share, it asks there is a panel that comes out, then you can optimize for sound.
Yes, I'm supposed to see.
Okay.
In media. Let me try again. Maybe it's my system. So I'll just go because of time. Echoes of Yorubaness, the soundtrack of Anikulapo as cultural narratives. That's what I'm presenting on.
Sir, can you make it a slide? Can you turn it to a slideshow?
Yeah.
The fourth icon on the bottom part of your screen, sir.
Are we good now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so like I said, my name is Samuel Adedibe from Music Department, University of Ibadan, and this is me presenting a work in progress just for a journal article. It came around the intuition for this was doing one of my class, African music class, and I looked at the concept of Yorubaness, that there are so many things embedded in the language itself. So, and then one of the reading texts I used for that class was Anikulapo, a movie that was directed by Gabriel Afolayan. And so, understanding Yorubaness, if you look at it, the concept of Yorubaness is, we look at the rich cultural heritage. We have Amimbola 1976 that talks in one of his books, Ifa, and then Fayemi 2009 also explained that the Yoruba culture boasts of oral tradition, proverbs, and Ifa spirituality. Although I remember finally we talk about Orisha spirituality. However, we can use Ifa spirituality to just it's a word that I have employed in this presentation to mean everything that has to do with traditional religion within the Yoruba space. And this element, the tradition, the proverb, the culture, they are weaved into the quotidian relevance, the daily life of an average Yoruba. So the Yoruba language with its tonal nature offer profound narrative capability. The tonal nature of the Yoruba, whether it's in the tonal inflection or even in the word itself, it has layers of meaning. If you look at the tonal inflection, for instance, we have Ogun, Ogun, Ogun. But even if you look at it in without the tonal inflection and just speak Ogun, for instance, Ogun can be sweat. But if you look at it in another context, it can mean something else. And that is the beauty of the language, of the Yoruba language. That Ogun, that is sweat, some people will say, Ogun, Ogun ishe owo mi ni mo n je. That means they are trying to say that though it is sweat, but it talks about labor. That means it's the fruit of my labor. That is what I'm benefiting from. So Yoruba, the language itself is so rich and so profound that it is laced with layers of meaning. Also, we look at the communality, the communal value that we have within the Yoruba sphere. The communality, the communal value are central within the Yoruba. It's expressed through collective experience. And within the communality, we have music also playing a role within the communality. For instance, when we look at folk tales, folk tunes, Tales by Moonlight, we discover that music has a way of playing its purpose in communality. For instance, doing folk tales, we have folk songs that come, and then the person calling the folk song will now say, and they will say, and laced inside the song, there are several functionality that the song is carrying. So the Yorubaness, understanding Yorubaness, we need to look at the culture, the language, and also the communality that we have within the Yoruba. So Yorubaness in cinematic storytelling. So why film? Film has stand as a potent medium for cultural preservation, and it ensures tradition, endures and reaches new audiences, especially epic film or epic movie within the Nigerian context, within the Nollywood context. Epic movie has tried, even when we look at the Igbo movies, Igbo epic movie, the Hausa epic movie has stand as a potent medium for preserving culture and for also allowing the culture to reach new audience. Thank God for this new media that we have. Thank goodness for social media, for several streaming devices up there, even YouTube, that allow this epic movie to travel to wider audience and not just within the Nigerian space, but in wider audience. And looking at film, Samuel and Adidube 2021 has expressed how diegetic sounds, particularly music, is used to convey cultural themes, to convey and enhance visual emotional experience in the pre-selected Tunde Kilani movies that they engage. And that's why I decided that, okay, let's use this Yorubaness, the concept of movie, and then let's use it to engage how Yorubaness in movie are able to carry that cultural empowerment within the scholarly work. That's the gap I want to fill. Now, the question I want to ask myself is, why Anikulapo? Why am I picking the movie Anikulapo? Anikulapo movie is a Nigerian epic fantasy movie that was released in September 2022. And this movie, when it was released in September 2022, in the AMBCA, the African Movie Award in 2023, in the award ceremony, Anikulapo won best, how will I put it now? It won Best Indigenous Language in Yoruba, Best Writer, Best Overall Movie in Africa, and also Best Soundtrack. And looking at the soundtrack, the composer of the soundtrack, Kent Edujobi, also won the award, came out to also collect the award and won the award. So that's the reason why I felt this movie has been able to be the best indigenous language, and then in AMPCA, in African Magic Video, he was able to win this award. So it's a good movie that scholar can go ahead to engage and see why it's this and that. However, because I'm from the musicology, I decided to look at the soundtrack, to look at how music has its role to play in making this movie best indigenous language, and let's look at it within the Yoruba context. Kent Edujobi vision. I picked Kent Edujobi because he was the soundtrack person in this movie. Kent Edujobi is a renowned Nigerian music maestro that composed the Anikulapo soundtrack. He was known for the popular song with the Apex Choir of the CCC. And then his vision was to craft an authentic sonic landscape using the Yoruba cultural elements, the Yoruba proverbs, and also weave it with modern instrumentation or contemporary instrumentation to produce a unique auditory experience. And then the soundtrack aimed for genuine Yoruba essence, grounding the film culturally. The soundtrack did not, despite the fact that it was fused with contemporary orchestral element, contemporary musical instruments, but the soundtrack were able to protect the Yoruba essence. The contemporary Western orchestral element that was used were not overshadowing the Yoruba essence that the soundtrack aimed to pass across, thereby grounding the film culturally. Now, this is the researcher with Kent, and then this is one of the videos that I wanted to play that I was asking for the soundtrack that I wanted to play. I'm not sure whether the sound will come up. Okay, I think I'll just go ahead. Let me see. I don't know whether you're going to hear that. Can you hear it?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Oh, you can hear it. That's good. That is Kent Edginjobi, also known as Kehinde Azan.
Don't share lamba lamba lọ́jà ọba. Don't keep playing inú o àti ìṣàlọ́jà. Ọmọ tó tóbi lọ́mọ òun ló bá wọ̀yà ìjà. Ẹ̀bí sílẹ̀ ó fẹ́ tẹ orí ọ̀kẹ́rẹ́ tó kọ láàwọ̀. Ẹ dákun ẹ má bà wíọ́ o. Ìgbẹ̀yìn níjọ ló pàjá o. Jàdí tó ń ṣe bí ọ̀rá. Pẹ̀lẹ́pẹ̀lẹ́ kó rọra o. Àìfarabalẹ̀ àgbà á máa jẹ́ àgbà afárágbẹ́gbá. Ìgbọràn tá a wí o, ó sàn jẹbọ rírú lọ. Pé àgbà tẹ̀lé àwí fún. Ọba jẹ́ ó gbọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ àgbà. Alágídíkù ìpalẹ̀ mọ́ àtò.
So while I was actually interviewing Kent, one of the questions that I asked Kent was, how were you able to, you are young in age, but the Yoruba you were able to use in your music, especially Igboro, this is Igboro, and in other music, how were you able to fuse them in? How were you able to fuse them into, how will I put it, into contemporary music? Contemporary music in the sense that some of us that are millennial and Gen Z will find it difficult to understand those coin proverbs, profound philosophical words that you infused into this music. And then he said, look, that, well, while he was growing up, he was able to grow up with, to stay with the grandma. And then knowing that the grandma are people who are still custodian of knowledge, who they understood proverb, who they cannot speak for 1 minute without infusing proverb with it. And that was why I was able to get this thing. And he said, look, I will not allow this to die. I'm going to infuse it in my composition. So not just in Anikulapo, in some of his personal composition, He loves to, Kente Dijobi loves to infuse those Yoruba philosophical words and proverbs and ancient Yoruba proverbs even into his song. So when we look at the song itself, Igboran, you could see vocal narrative like chant. Now, in chant, I put incantation also in inverted comma because there's a debate whether incantation is the same thing as chant or incantation is something that has spiritual connotation. Because some people, for instance, if you're of the Christian or the Muslim, you might frown at incantation, even being a Yoruba person. But being a Yoruba person should not allow us to frown on incantation. Incantation is just like chant. For instance, if you are from the hunting or the hunters family, they have their own ijala, which is also chant. And if you don't appreciate it, if you think that is incantation, like in spiritual incantation, then you might run away from it. And thereby you are not actually celebrating the Yorubaness that we have in chant. So Anikulapo, the soundtrack is in Anikulapo masterfully employs call and response vocalization. It employs chanting a lot. You could see chanting coming in even from the beginning of the music. And then you could look at the Akala bed. When the man was chanting around the Akala bed, it was embedded with deepen and spiritual connection. And whether we like it or not, among the Yoruba cosmology, the chant, the incantation is one of the way of life. For instance, the Ese Odufa is laced with spiritual and wisdom saying. And these are things that should not be lost with contemporary vibes or contemporary music. These are things that even within the contemporary vibes, even with the Afrobeats, the vibe that we have in pop culture, we can embed this Yoruba proverb and philosophical concept even within the music, so that it will not be lost. In Anikulapo, looking at the vocal narrative also, we saw that it reinforces key themes of destiny, of consequence, of spiritual intervention, and of African aesthetic. For instance, African aesthetic talk about Moluabi, and he said, look, and it's like it's an advice that look, be careful. If not, there are repercussions for everything you are doing. So voices used in this movie now becomes powerful storyteller. Not just when you sit down, you make story. Music itself, soundtrack itself, now have a way of adding to the story and making it to pass the message that the storyteller or the writer, the playwright, decide to pass across. So the soundtrack, like I said, it guides. Okay, I'm running up now. I just have one slide after. It guides audience emotion through suspense, triumph, sorrow. It evokes spiritual appeal and enhance the narrative. But let me conclude. Anikulawo soundtrack is a masterclass. It uses music to tell rich cultural narrative effectively. It demonstrates how authentic indigenous sound enrich thematic experience globally, a true game changer. And then in the concluding statement, through Kent's soundtrack in Anikulawo, Yorubaness is sonically embodied, melding proverbial wisdom, tonal spirituality, and ancestral readings into a living archive of Yoruba identity, proving that even in modern cinema, in today's cinema, the echoes of tradition remain unbroken. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, a round of applause for Dr. Individual. That's interesting presentation. Now we are going to take questions. We have 15 minutes for that before we move to the next presentation. So if you have questions for the first two presenters about their presentations, let us indicate. Short questions, comments also should be short so that we will not exceed the allotted time. So the way, please, let us interrogate these two presentations. Okay, Dr. okay, I don't know this one. So can you compare, okay, thank you so much. Please, the two presenters.
Oh, someone is raising up their hand on the someone is raising up their hand.
Yes. Okay, Dr.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for the presentation. My question is to the first presenter. Your title, you will have Yoruba songs. I was thinking we'll be delving into traditional song. And I don't think the sample you used what's the name of this woman again? I don't think she sings Yoruba songs. Maybe songs in, I mean, they're using Yoruba as a language, but not traditional Yoruba song. Because there is always this issue of, especially when you are talking of the arts. For instance, when you say in literature, there is English literature, there is literature in English. So there is music in English and there is English music. So there should be music in Yoruba and that of Yoruba music. So I don't know, have you been able to consider literature reviews regarding Yoruba music?
Okay, so I think okay, so I know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Okay, so she sings in Yoruba language, and then she also sings in the genre of Yoruba music, which is juju and a mix of fuji. So I think what we're looking at from a different perspective in the sense that Yoruba music to you, they are thinking of indigenous Yoruba music, like from maybe originating from Yoruba culture or historical song or something. I think that
Yeah.
and I feel that if somebody sings in Yoruba language and it is the genre of Yoruba music, it's still Yoruba song. Even if because Fuji, Juju, it's not American song, it's the genre of Yoruba language. So I think it's Yoruba song. And then in the case I said Yoruba song of Saint Janet. So I'm not looking at all Yoruba songs. I'm looking at the Yoruba song of a particular artist.
Okay, thank you for that. What question?
Thank you very much.
Please introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Jim. Before I go further, I would like to ask a question. What is your definition or your concept of empowerment?
Okay. As an African feminist that I find myself, empowerment is whatever leads to development and whatever form of development, financial, psychological, emotional forms of empowerment. So, yes.
All right. Now, the reason why I ask this, you said her song is not empowering anyone. For me, my personal view, I think you are coming from a moral or religious angle. Let me tell you, do you know that there is high level of matrimonial issues now? And most of them come from sexual performance between couples and spirits, in the other way. So the man will say the woman is not this. You just try to shift the blame. Don't you think this song is another form of empowerment to matrimonial sexual issues?
Okay, so thank you very much. Number one is for this study, I was very reflective to say that I'm approaching it from an African feminist perspective. And so I'm very reflective about the fact that I'm reflecting on the lyrics, I'm reflecting on how they differ from the Yoruba culture of respect, regard, or shyness. Yes, so that is one. Number two is I said not real empowerment, but performative empowerment. So I agree to the fact that the empowerment it presumes is providing is performative. Is not an ingrained empowerment that can impact the status and experiences of women in the larger society. Now, people who study pornography scholars, they've actually argued this perception that watching pornography, listening to pornographic songs and lyric songs can actually help in matrimony. Now, St. James songs talk about what men do to women body. They talk about men assaulting women and making it seem normal. I do not know how those can actually help a man perform his conjugal rights into marriage or a woman do that. So the only thing I can say is maybe being very being lewd and openly discussing sexual acts and make people less ashamed. And then it's not, I do not think that is actually directed to it's just like the argument of a man and a woman have sexual incompatibility issues that they should watch pornography. Now, pornography is not real life, it's a film. And so a lot of things are good. So in real life, sexual experts can say the average person, the longest time they can have sex continuously non-stop is like 30 minutes. And what pornography they can do it for 45 minutes. So it even creates more problem because it makes men and women have unrealistic expectations of their partners. So while you are okay to feel that maybe as some people provide empowerment, but the literature argues considerably these myths and assumptions that in which watching pornography can actually, because the reality is that the man is not going to sleep with the porn artist in the film, in the pornographic film, he's just with his wife. And so the erotic zones of his wife is different from the erotic zones of the person in the adult film. So at the end of the day, they provide performative roles, but you still have to go back to go and understand your spouse. You still have to discuss with your spouse about what they want and how you can please them. And so, like some fellas would argue, it's actually a myth to think that watching pornography or listening to pornography can actually enhance sexual relationships with spouse.
But in some, is she only, I'm not some,
Yeah,
is she only talking about only what the men can do with women, or it brings a little to the left and a little to the right?
okay, so mostly it's actually about what men do to women.
But at times, still brings.
Okay, so when it comes to what women do to men, it's actually still going back to how they pleasure men. So I'm going to give you an example. One of the songs is Oral the Sweet. And at the end of the day, it's still about a woman giving oral sex to a man. So at the end of the day, there's nothing empowering for the woman. So it is either what a man does to the woman or how a woman can please a man.
Yes, I agree with you, but I still think you need to find a middle ground.
Mr. Jones, you
Yes,
see,
I still think you need to find a middle ground.
excuse me, sorry. I also have a lot of, because I'm working on certificates and one other Greek is the cartoons. I have a lot of questions from our response to your question. But because of time, that is why I do two presentations, question and answer, so that those comments videos will speak. So we have another person that wants to ask questions with regards to this presentation. Let's
I think the person left.
Huh?
They left. You can call
the
it.
person left.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The way
Can I quickly ask on the St. Janet?
Hello?
I want to ask question on that St. Janet, actually.
Okay, no.
I worked on St. Janet for my master's project, and I interviewed her. So immediately I saw the title of objectification. I was wondering, did you want to also consider another word, or maybe you want to recontextualize what objectification is? Because I asked her, your song, you objectify women. And in her response, she said, we're just playing. Abi, you want to tell me that there is nobody that used to do this thing? He said that in Yoruba, actually. And immediately I calmed down, like, okay, that's true. Because some of our song, if you look at it, it talks about sex in its euphemism and sometimes dysphemism approach. So you might want to look at it. Is it actually objectification or sometimes or glorification? Because sometimes it talks about how both parties enjoy themselves when they have this thing. So that's just the part that I want to think. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I'd like to tell your name because I'm very happy to read your master thesis. Okay, so the thing is, it's normal for as a woman is how she interprets what she does. Also, and then my own study and my standpoint is how I also interpret our text, and it's totally fine. And I think I said at the point that she has been very, very vocal about about in defense of our trade. And so that's fine, but I'm going to be very excited to know about.
Yeah, thank you. Is there any other question, especially for the second presentation of Dr. Adibbe, the Anikulaku soundtracks and exemplifying Yorubaness? I think we should react to this one. I believe that some of us have voiced the thing. Do we have any question among the online audience? Okay. Because of time, because I'm actually trying to manage the allotted time. So let's go to the next two presentations. Dr. Adeolu Olusoya will be talking about exploring the artistic developmental innovations in contemporary Yoruba music. So, are we ready, sir? Okay.
Sorry.
We have 15 minutes.
That's the title of the exploring the artistic developmental innovations in contemporary Yoruba popular music. One. The contemporary popular music refers to those musical genre of post-independent Nigeria that are enjoyed and appreciated by the general public. These genres have undergone a remarkable transformation over the past few decades, and they emerge as dominant forces on the global stage, largely due to the ingenuity of the practitioners and socioeconomic circumstances of the patrons and adherents. The focus of this paper really is to examine Lagbaja's performance practice as an innovative artistic development in Yoruba popular music. How does a prominent Nigerian musician like Lagbaja, known for his enigmatic mass persona and eclectic musical style, blend Yoruba traditional aesthetics with digital production technology, global music such as jazz, funk, and Afrobeat to shape the sonic identities. The method for collecting data, of course, participant observation, and interview methods. The study argues that contemporary popular music serves as both a site of cultural continuity and medium of progressive self-expression. Now, Omibi Yobudike described popular music genre divided that time into three specific areas. One, foreign imported music, local westernized musical genre, and popular musical genre localized among particular ethnic groups. The foreign imported music are those ones that are imported, just like the name, that are sung or performed by the Westerners and are being aired on our radios and televisions and that we listen to. Local westernized musical genres are copies of those foreign imported music that are performed by Nigerians or by Yoruba people or anyone that are that is within the country. While the popular musical genre localized among popular ethnic groups are those ones that we refer to as neo-traditional musical forms, like the Apala, the Juju, the Fuji, the Sakara, and all whatnots. Now, this is this area that we have taken Lagbaja from, because Lagbaja, being a Nigerian, also a man from this type of tradition. But he became popular because of the type of innovation that he imbued into the popular Yoruba music scene, especially with the use of mass, with this that resembles that of the Egungun, and then the name that he has chosen for his performative acts, which is Lagbaja itself. The name is pregnant in meaning because it can mean nobody, it can mean somebody. You know, because if Yoruba person want to talk about a well-known person in public, but doesn't want to mention the name. He will say, Tori Labaja, Tomo Labaja, you know, and then that's from there, you know, the person is an individual with no physical identity, you know. The research leans on the performative theory of Richard Schegner, therefore Afro-modernism theory and the postcolonial aesthetic theory. Good. The central studies for this are the mask and the term Lagbaja, which I've explained. The mask, Lagbaja used the mask in a multiple level way. The multiple level ways are like as a symbol of a collective identity, one, a critique of egotism in celebrity culture, and a cultural reference to Yoruba masculine tradition. The symbol of collective identity means that he's using a particular art that everybody in the society could understand. And there's no Yoruba person that does not know that when somebody puts on a mask, is either identifying with the Egungun ritual or is part of the society, the Egungun society. And then the critique of egotism in celebrity, according to Lagbaja himself, when I spoke to him, he said, without the mask, nobody will know him. So he can go in public without any harassment. Unlike those musicians that do not use mask. The moment they get outside, people will mob them, and they might even ask money from them or something. But for Lagbaja, without the mask, nobody can, except those who are very close to him, nobody can really identify him. And then the cultural reference to nothing.
Sorry, sir.
Okay, anyway, now another thing that he has brought as innovation into popular Yoruba music genre is the musical hybridity and instrumentation, which is one example that we just heard now. But most importantly, Lagbaja indulges in melodic code mixing with the complex of interplay of back percussion. And code mixing is that though he might sing in some other languages, but he speaks Yoruba too. So, and within one track, he can speak both English, Pidgin, and Yoruba, and even sometimes some other Nigerian dialects. Please play that number one that you noted for me. Thank you. Now, for that, well, that shows us that the type of instrumentation that Lagbaja engages in his music. You will see that there are Yoruba percussive instruments like the dodun, the gángan, and the bata, talking drum, and nobele, and some other ones like shekere, agogo, and all. But he mixed it. Then with the use of Western horns, the jazz harmonies, and the digital vocal sampler and auto-tune to create hybrid sounds. In fact, the way he uses the Yoruba traditional music instruments that are in his works, he used them the way the Egungun will use them to speak. And in fact, when you hear the drums just now that you are listening to, the drums are actually the theme for this track is Nothing for You, whereby an elderly person was trying to woo a younger lady, and the drum or the drummers are saying ohun tó yẹ ni ló yẹ ni, ohun tó yẹ ni ló yẹ ni, àgbà tó mọ̀ ti jù kó má fò lè ṣeré, warning the man that look, you are too big for this one that you are going into. Of course, even when the man was trying to woo the girl, toast the girl was refusing. Although at the end of the day, the man gained what he really wanted to gain. But that shows that men sometimes can be, you like a strong head, but then the instrumentalist, the percussive instrumentalists are there to warn him of the mistake he would have gone into if the lady had refused finally, because it might have been, it might lead to some other things. But we can see the interplay of both the traditional instrument and the Western instrument. Is that the second track? As jazz harmony, as guitar, they did everything. This introduction can be a chance. Okay. Thank you very much. Now, for this track, no, not yet. For this track, we have seen the code mixing technique that Abaya used there. Yoruba, English, and Pidgin. And then, most especially, you now use that term, Tokumbo, in a metaphoric way. Tokumbo can be name of somebody. And then, now we use it derogatively to mention names for used material that you get from across the sea. Now, he's now using that to warn ladies not to go into men chasing so that they don't fall victim of marrying somebody who will not adequately take care of them. And that's the person that is saying Tokumbo, Oko Tokumbo. And so we can see that the way jazz music, though popular, but from there, talks moral and prepares the mind of even his listeners and patrons on what to do so that they can be of good behavior even within the society. Language's performance practice exemplifies artistic development, innovation in Yoruba popular music by merging cultural memory and aesthetic experimentation and social engagement. Its marked identity, musical ability, and theatrical performance style not only expand the boundaries of Yoruba musical expression, but also offer a model for how African artists can engage tradition while forging new artistic features. Thank you very much for this.
Yeah, I like to applaud for the presentation. So before we go to question and answer, let us take the last presentation by Mr. Tunde Shitu. Yes. Okay. The socio-cultural background of Waka music in Yoruba land and introduction. So Mr. Wato, you have 15 minutes. So and thereafter we'll take questions for the two questions.
Lọ́jọ́ tẹ́tẹ́ bá kọ́ńtẹ́ǹtì síwájú òde, tábùkù wà níbẹ̀ tí wọ́n ń jó, tí yẹ̀yẹ́ wà níbẹ̀ tí wọ́n ń wòran. Tọ̀bílì Alámìnà ọba ẹ̀dá, àjàbá wọn dé ibẹ̀ Olúwa wá.
Wọn dé ibẹ̀ Olúwa wá.
Good afternoon, distinguished scholars. My name is Shitu Babatunde Adeshina. I'm here to present to you the socio-cultural background of Waka music in Yoruba land and introduction. Firstly, Waka music is a prominent indigenous musical genre among the Yoruba people of southwestern Nigeria. The word Waka is derived from Hausa language for song. It is indeed an Islamic-oriented song embedded with Yoruba cultural traditions. Waka song is originated by the Islamic lyrics at somewhere around Okesuna in Ilorin, Kwara State. As time goes on, it spreads to Amunebun in Ibadan before it now become modernized music, modernized song during the time of Alhaja Late Fatili Alake and our contemporaries. This study also underscored that Waka music is one of the most powerful medium of expression that reflects the rich cultural heritage and philosophical stance of Yoruba people with its traditional legacy. Our statement of problems. Most people could not trace the origin of Waka music beyond the late Fatili Alake. That's why they call late Fatili Alake the Waka originator. The second problem is that people believe that Waka music is a Yoruba musical genre, that has been monopolized by the female folks, since it is being music that is predominantly practiced by the female practitioners. But this research is going to unleash the real originators of the Waka music and the likes. Now, our aim and objective. Objectives of this study. The aim of this study is to explore the Yoruba sociocultural elements embedded in Waka music. While our objectives are to investigate the origin of Waka music in Yoruba land, to identify the Yoruba cultural, sociocultural elements embedded in Waka music, and to explore the transformation of Waka music in Yoruba land. The research questions are the research aimed the research objectives are in line with the research question. We don't need to waste much time on that. Our research methodology, we embark on qualitative research method, which is divided into primary data collection and secondary data collection. We interview local practitioners, we listen to musical albums, we observe live performances, we partially participated in local music, while the secondary data collection is library books, journals, dictionaries, and so on, internet, and so on. Definition of terms. The first one is waka. Waka. As I've said before, waka is a particular song. Waka is a particular Yoruba musical genre. It means song in Hausa word. Likewise, bangiri is a kind of drum originated by the Arabians. It is used by the Islamic clerics while chanting the waka song. Our literature review, we see Lawal 2002, we checked on Adele 2004, Salam 2006. All these mentioned scholars, they have done a lot on waka music, but none of them was able to view waka the way we viewed it. In our theoretical framework, we are embarking on the sociology of literature. We are using the equivalent time theory out of the sociology of literature. This theory was propounded by equivalent time between 1828 and 1893. They believe that sociology of literature, and literature should be able to showcase what is happening in the society. It is the mirror of the society. Our diagram shows that the society at large, the music waka song is inside the society. Likewise, the singer. The waka singer is one of the products of the society. Same thing applies to the waka song. Now, the origin of waka music in Yoruba land. Historically, the roots of waka music could be traced back to the ancient Ilorin Islamic scholars during the era of Shola Geru at Okesuna, slightly before the arrival of Hadili in 19th century. These are the microscopic few of people that accepted Islam from Oyole before they relocated to Okesuna in Ilorin. They adopted waka song from Arabic poems. For instance, Amda wa shukura Siran wa jaratan lillahi rabbil alamin amdan wa shukura. They now say, adúpẹ́ fọba Olúwa, ọba àwa ẹ̀dá tó ṣọ́ wa látọdún èṣí lọ́dún èyí. Adúpẹ́ fọba Olúwa. Now, they believe that waka song is being originated, is being adapted from Arabic poems into the Yoruba native language and culture. Due to the interrelationship between the Yoruba scholars, the Yoruba clerics, and the Ilorin and other parts of Hausa Fulani people, they were able to name the song, the music genre as waka song or waka music, which means song, as I've said before, or melody. Yoruba socio-cultural elements embedded in waka music. We are going to examine two waka practitioners. First, there's Alhaja Batili Alake, who was popularly known as melody maker, and Alhaji Fatai Abdurrahman, who is popularly known as Afa Alibidesi. To buttress our point that waka music or waka song is not meant for only the female, but for both gender. The first one, Alhaja Batili Alake said, Oye Atura Ajepe Aye, congratulations on Yalubeu. Bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti délé bẹ́ẹ̀ bá béèrè mi o. Bí ẹ bá ti délé bẹ́ẹ̀ bá béèrè mi o. Bàtílé Àlàkẹ́ olóye ní mo bá relé. Ọ̀tún ìyálóde wa kà ní gbogbo àgbáyé. Bàtílé Àlàkẹ́ wa kà originator. Bí ẹ bá ti délé ẹ bá béèrè mi o. What this song is literally showing us is how people cherish installation of chieftaincy. As an Oloye, as a chief, there are some privileges you will definitely have among your people that they will respect you, respect your post. Yoruba says, oyè ní kéré, èèyàn ní kéré, olóyè kéré. So, in Yoruba land, we cherish what we call post or chieftaincy title. Aside from that, let's look at another particular case work, the second one. Wọ́n gbọ́ pé ọjà átà ìlú Sókótó wọ́n múra wọ́n sáré kẹ́rù sọ́kọ̀ o. Àyànmọ́ owó wọn ò béèrè lọ́wọ́ orí. Mo rí lọ má mẹ́wàá lọ ìyàwó òun ẹ̀ ń wá lọ sí Sókótó. Ó ń bẹ láàbò ṣòfò mo sọ. Àkúnlẹ̀yìn ọmọ ẹ̀dá láyé kò lè yí padà. Mo ń tẹnu mọ́ o. Mo lórí lálàá báwo. What this song is telling us is that we should believe, it shows three main things, three main socio-cultural elements. The first one is the commerce. Wọ́n gbọ́ pé ọjà átàlì ìlú Sókótó, wọ́n sáré wọ́n múra wọ́n kẹ́rù sọ́pọ̀. How Yoruba people always work, always their passion for commerce, their passion for business. It shows that. Aside from that, the belief in faith that àyànmọ́ ògbó in Yoruba land, we know that there are several charms. We have àwúre, we have oríṣiríṣi oògùn, but they believe that àyànmọ́ ògbó. Now let's proceed to Alhaji Abdulfatai Abdulrahim, who says, ẹ̀dá ẹyẹ fìgbà kan bọnú ọ̀kan o, ibi tọ́rọ̀ bá wà yẹn gbé sí. Ẹni ẹ bá yàn jẹ́ ó débi kádàrá, ẹni ló kù tẹ́ ó ṣe bàbá ẹ̀sìn. He's trying to tell us that we should be just in everything we are doing. We should not be biased. So in Yoruba justice system, we don't always we always make sure that we are just. So that's the second one. He says, òòrè tí ń di bí ìbọ̀ ọjọ́ ti pẹ́, tó nínú rẹ̀ ó sì wá dàbí àṣekà, tọ́mọ aráyé ó fi wọn ṣẹ̀sín. He's showing us what is happening in the society. In conclusion, this study explores the origin of waka music and established it that the male Islamic clerics are the main originator of waka song. This study debunks the erroneous impression that waka music is kilo-based music. To buttress this, we make use of two case studies, which are Alhaji Bàtílé Àlàkẹ́ and Alhaji Abdulfatai Abdulrahim. Thank you very much.
Yeah, a round of applause for the participation. Now let's go to the question section. If any one of us has questions to ask, although I have a lot, I said. So let's raise our hand. Okay. How do we do it? Women first.
Ladies first.
So Dr. maybe.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. Very interesting. Okay, so let's find out on the video of Dr. Marista that we watched by Professor Said. Also talked about Marista's baristas, the origin of the barista starting music, and also like a thing to Yoruba, but I don't think it's waka.
The food.
Okay, so like I would like to talk about the link between Were and waka.
Okay. Dr. Lami, I know you have a lot of friends. I don't have a lot of friends. So,
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. I enjoyed the presentation very well, very enriching. My question, I want to ask the brother that talks about waka. I want to know this. You talk about Arabic inclusion into waka music, and then I would like to ask if there is intersection between Ajami, Yoruba, Ajami, waka, because the thing was intersection between Yoruba, Ajami, we have Hausa Ajami, yeah, we have Yoruba Ajami, the intersection between Yoruba, Ajami, and waka. The reason I asked that question was because we started 19th century, and in 19th century, aside with Monopodio, Abdullahi Fodio, talking about Ajami, Hausa Ajami, there were already documents on Yoruba Ajami, and then based on my research, we thought so that all these Yoruba, the early converts to Muslim actually recorded their own experience about Islam in Yoruba. So I want to know the intersection between Yoruba, Ajami, and Waka, and especially the Arabic infusion.
okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. We don't know your name.
Omotola Nidike.
Okay. So, Dr. Alami.
Okay, thank you so much. Your presentation is quite, is a new thing for me because I did my master's and PhD on Waka, and some of the things you said are quite, I don't know, maybe you might need to do further research because Waka is not just, when you talk of Yoruba Waka and you are taking it to Ilorin, you might have to retrace that. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. The two examples you gave are not Ilorin Waka. In fact, from the word you said it's Hausa originated or something. No, what you said you word or yes. The name, and that's what I'm saying. It is Hausa, right? Yeah. But you said the history started from the Yoruba. So how can the word be Hausa and it starts? So you might need to consider that because Jimba, Abroshid Lala, several other people who have done research on this, their names were not mentioned under your website, and they are the ones who have done quite a lot of work on Waka, so to say. And knowing Waka is totally different from this Waka. The knowing Waka, they don't use beats, they don't use instruments, they use their mouth to create sound. That's what they do. And when you now talk of the type of waka you are saying, there is somebody who broke out of that Oba waka then. When he was told not to use musical instruments, he said, because they want to retain the authenticity of waka as an Islamic, because according to Jimba, he said waka is wakia, not even Hausa, but Arabic. Wakia, that is come and chant. And also, Nala said it is waka, waso, come and say. So, it's different purview of saying the origin or the name etymology of waka. You need to also do your research on that. So, what I was saying is there is also somebody who wanted to bring instrumental into, and the emir of Ilorin said you cannot. Then he said to Tony Kimaka, Waka Monkey, you call Waka Moon, Warren Limiko. So he changed it from Waka to. So when they say you are singing Waka, you are using, he said, no, Warren Limiko. So that's to tell you that different. So when you say ignoring, I didn't think you maintain Yoruba, I wouldn't have any issue. But when you say ignoring, you have to look at that. And also, your topic is on socio-cultural background, not historical background. You need to revisit that because what you have given us is historical, but you try to lump in social relevance. I think it will not make your work go well. And also the samples you gave, the structural aspect of waka, you have the leading, that's the lead singer, chanter. Then you have the AB, which is the chorus. It is not reflected in your sample. Okay, but you need to do that. You need to do that because it's for you to ascertain the orality of waka. It is it's under oral literature. And so there is audience, there is participatory, there is, I don't know, you should get what I'm trying to say. So it's a good one, but you need to do a robust work. Thank you. Mr. Yuda.
Okay, I think the only totally new to the concept, so I'll just restrict myself to the style of presentation. You started by revealing to us your data before you now begin to go back to introduction and you repeated everything you said from the beginning. So you need to re-strategize how you present. Another way to save you time, I might be wrong, but I think he used beyond the time.
Where go on.
So another way to save you time is whatever you have on your PowerPoint, you don't need to keep repeating it. That's why they call it PowerPoint. Just take his bullets. Just take a particular thing. This is this. You can see here. This is this. You can see here. That is for you. Sir, please. Sir. Can I also?
Yeah.
Sir, please. But what is the title of your work? Exploring
the artistic developmental innovations on contemporary Yoruba music.
Contemporary Yoruba popular music. Because I have a challenge. I think there is you digressed from Yoruba music. You started speaking more of performance. I was expecting to hear more of music. Now, as at the time when you digress to performance, I wanted to play a video because at that time you are talking of performance. You even used performance theory. Yeah. So by the time you wanted to play the video, I was expecting to see a performance video, but you gave us an audio. I don't know if you know what I'm saying. You might need to have a focus because for me, I might be wrong. For me right now, you opened too many grounds for this. So you need to redirect your focus. If you are talking on music, face music, if you are talking, I know that music is part of performance. It builds performance, but it is not performance itself. Performance deals with the person that is reacting to whatever is. Yes. So if you want to talk about music, let's face it and drop it there. If you want to talk about performance, let's talk it and then talk.
Okay. For the members of the online audience, Dr. Adejude, do we have questions for us? Hello, Doc. Okay. You can go ahead.
Thank you for all the panelists. I really enjoyed that. But I'm studying Yoruba. I wanted to ask a question about language because I like the song, but this the help me by Yoruba. I was just wondering about the marks and the ancestral stuff, right? So, yeah. I was just wondering, we just talk about the kind of like etymological meaning in the mark, whether that is reflected in the lyrics and his like kind of social message, or whether kind of it's just a mark, but he doesn't necessarily talk about that tradition beyond the mark up there.
See, innovation was the least innovation that Nigerian music public will expect from any musician. So when he came out with the use of the mask, everyone anyone who is used to seeing the egungun, but egungun will never come out without the mask. And the mask can be either with, made with wood or cloth or sometimes net, but it will be a total covering of the face. So when he started using that, people believed he is replicating the ancient egungun rituals that have been done before him. Although he is saying the reason why he used that is because it's a new innovation that nobody has ever done before, and it's helping to portray his business. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. On Waka. Dr. Alani said something about why going historical. Because you conducted one study and you now base your study, now generalize it. You understand? And I also have problem with the fact that you said Waka is not for women alone. I don't know. I thank God for the exposition by Dr. Alani. You said particularly Alake. Is she or was she from Ilorin?
No, from the
So that's the reason, because if at all, should be someone from Ilorin that we mentioned. And that is why I really want to subscribe to what Dr. Alani said. I think you need further study. And from the few studies that have been conducted, Waka is meant only for the women.
yes. And anybody has something.
Yeah, that when we talk about medley, like putting different styles together, all of them are they are singing, one musician singing different genres. Benga can do that. And he's not the only one that has done that. You understand? We have Waka, even Waka, gospel music and so on. See? Okay. Alaga.
Sorry, I'm just confused by your comments. Waka is meant for women. Okay, so does it mean that the man will not be allowed to sing Waka?
What happened is,
I have a lot of comments singing Waka, but I'm just kind of confused. When you say, I think like a man is not permitted.
Dr.
I know.
Ghana, you are looking at it from blue feminists.
That I say something. Waka started but at some point in time, due to the demand, the women voice supersedes the men. So the men now see it as a point of we cannot be competing with the women in that space. But what I also want you to note, there are different types of waka. There is cultural waka, there is religious waka, there is social waka. When you talk of even the material waka, it's still waka. But that one has transformed from the original waka. The original waka has still been done when you consider Alaja Batinubuasi, Alaja Ilorin, they are there. But it is because what they use, you just consider what they use it for. One, they use it for sermon. And in the religious setting, it is men who give sermon. And that's why the ones you were rendering, it's giving a religious vibe from the Islamic angle. So those ones will be rendered by name. But when it comes to Aisonyawo, wedding eve, when it comes to Oku and all of that, they invite you, especially wedding eve. It is women that will come, they will surround them, they will be chanting, hailing, praising, and all of that. So men no longer see themselves within that enclave. And so the clerics in Iran, they hijacked it. Back, yes, maybe back. But from findings, it's cultural. But I don't want to lose culture with religion. Because if you continue to argue that, you want to say Waka is from Islamic. But my own argument is Waka is not necessarily from Islam came. And it must have meant something on ground. Do you understand? Religions, especially introduced religions, they always come to modernize whatever you are doing. So I feel Waka has been on ground even before them. So it has been done by men and it's still being yes, by women. We have different genres of songs in Ilorin. There is Pankeke, there is Ijo Olomoba, there is Kingbe, Palu, there is all that. So, and women dominate this musical terrain.
Thank you, Doc. We can go on and on and on, but we have like 5 minutes left. Let us be using it to the round up. So thank you all the presenters and the contributors for questions and comments. So thank you very much.
Yeah, now just about